Cooking with Glenn and Katie.
Today, I'm going to be making some Italian bread, and the recipe makes 2 14-ounce loaves.
And be sure to check out the description box below. We have a link to the recipe in that description box, and it has step-by-step instructions for exactly what we're going to be showing you today. So, are you ready to get started?
Yeah.
All right.
To start, I'm going to add 1 1/3 cups of warm water. I put this in the microwave for 1 minute, but it needs to be between 90 and 115 degrees. Next, I'm going to add 5 teaspoons of sugar. And to that, I'm adding 1 tablespoon of yeast. This is instant yeast. Stir it in, and I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes. It's been 10 minutes. Look at all the carbon dioxide bubbles. So the yeast is certainly alive. Today I'm making Italian bread, and for my oil, I'm going to be using 1 tablespoon of olive oil. I will add some oil, 1 tablespoon of oil. And next, I'll be adding 3 1/2 cups of bread flour. And finally, I'm going to sprinkle on top 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. And now I'm going to mix this together. I'll start this on low until things have started to mix in together. And in about 30 seconds to a minute, I'll turn it on the next higher level speed, and I will set it for 8 minutes. The dough is perfect this time. It's not sticky. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. If it sticks on the side of the bowl or the bottom of the bowl, you just add 1 teaspoon of flour and let it knead it a little bit more, and then you may need to add a little bit more until it's like this. I'm going to turn this piece of dough into 2 dough balls. I've got 2 halves, and then I'm just going to bend the dough around like this so the outside dough is going to be smooth. I'll tuck it in here in the bottom. I'm going to tuck it in the bottom here like this. I'll turn it over. That's 1 dough ball. Do the same thing for this. I'm just going to bring it in like this, pulling the top of it tight. Now look at these balls here. This one's a little bit larger than this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, I'm going to pull some of the dough from this, a little bit more. I'm going to turn this over. I'm just going to tuck this in. So try to make the loaves about the same size. So now if you look at them, these are basically the same size. And now I'm going to take these and put them on this silicone sheet. If you don't have silicone, you can use parchment paper, or you can lightly oil this. I'm ready for the first rise, so I'm going to set the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's just going to be on for less than a minute. So let me do that. And I'm also going to turn on the oven light. Now I'm going to place this slightly dampened towel in the microwave for 30 seconds to warm it up. I just turned the oven off. I've got my towel out of the microwave. I'm going to place the towel on top of the 2 dough balls to keep them warm. I'm going to place them in the warm oven for 20 minutes. I've made many loaves of Italian bread, and I wanted to show you how the bread looks with the egg wash on it and without an egg wash. These 2 loaves were baked at the same time. This one, let me pull this one out, this one has egg wash on it, and this one does not. When you make Italian bread, you need to put cuts in it, and to do that, you use some sharp tools. But the reason you do it is because you want the gases to escape in purposed areas instead of like a blown tire on the edge somewhere. So let's look at some of the tools. This bread lame is what a lot of bread makers use. It cost me $6 for this, so it's not expensive. But what it does, it holds a double-edged razor blade at the end, so you can use a razor blade to cut the bread. But you don't have to have that. If you've got a knife, use it. If you've got a sharpener, I sharpen it, make it as sharp as you can. I have some scaffolds around my house, and so I use these. These work out very well because the blades are so thin. You can use a serrated knife if you want to. And finally, if you go out and you find you in your toolbox and you clean it up real well, you can use these cutters here. They all work very well, so don't go out and buy something. See what you've got at home that will work. I just took the dough out of the oven after the first rise. Let's look at it. The dough has doubled in size. It's perfect right now. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some flour on the top of both of these. Okay, I'm going to take this piece of dough here, and I'm going to place it on the flour surface I have here. I'm kind of punch it down. When I punch it down, you got some carbon dioxide bubbles. You can kind of hear them kind of escaping. You can see there's a bubble here. So we're trying to push all those out. Flip it over. A little bit more. I'm going to put a little bit more flour on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch it, redistribute the yeast and the sugars and all, and then I'm going to eventually make it into a 6 to 8 inch wide and 12 inch long piece of dough. There we go. I'm going to even up the dough. And this is 12 inches. Again, after it finishes, I can stretch it out a little bit more, but it gives you an idea of how it needs to be. And now I'm going to roll this dough like this. I'll roll it up as tight as I can, and I'm rolling it into a cylinder. And I'm going to pinch these pieces here to kind of keep it together. And then I will gather this in right here, and I'll kind of tuck everything in like that. Kind of squeeze it so it's all tucked in right there. We'll go to this side here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to tuck everything in. I want all the seams to be on the bottom. So I think we've got that pretty well. I'm going to turn it over here, and I'm going to rock it back and forth. And as I rock it, it's sealing the bottom piece, but the top is beautiful. You want it to be that way. And the ends, I can shape those to be more pointed. So I work with it a little bit, and then this loaf will be ready in just a minute. I'm pushing it in, still rolling it, and I roll it out about the size I want it to be. Again, you want it to be the same diameter all the way down the best you can. And then you can place it on the pan and you can stretch it out. So I'm stretching it to about 12 inches and kind of adjusting it. So you can adjust it once it is put on the pan. The bread is ready for the second rise, and I'm going to treat it just exactly like I did the first rise. I'll leave it in for 20 minutes. I took the bread dough out of the oven after the second rise, and I am preheating the oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's look at the dough. It has risen, it's doubled in size. I've dusted it with some flour, and now I'm going to smooth it out. And now it's ready to cut. This piece right here, I'm just going to take the lame, the baker's lame, I'm just going to cut. I'm going to cut it right down the center. I cut it about 1/4 of an inch to a 1/2 inch deep, and this will spread apart, and this loaf will widen a bit. This other loaf, and I'm just going to make a slit right here. It's probably not as deep as the lame did. Now I'm going to cut again. Now I'm going to cut it again here. I'm going to cut it right here. And I'm going to cut it right here. And now I'm going to put some egg wash on it. This is a whole egg, and I put a tablespoon of water, and I blended it all together. You can put the egg wash inside the cut. A lot of times it's nice just to leave it on the outside of the cut so you can have some contrast in the color of the bread. You do it lightly so that you don't deflate the bread. So when you put it on here, don't be rough on it. Now it's ready for the oven. The oven has preheated to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm ready to put the bread in. I'm going to use my little water squirt bottle here, and I'm going to mist the bread. I'll do that every 5 minutes during the cook. And now I'll put it in the oven. It's on the center rack. To add some more moisture in here, I'm going to put 5 squirts on each side of the oven. I'm gonna close it. And I'll set a timer for 5 minutes, and then I'll mist it again. I will mist the bread 4 times every 5 minutes. I've misted it once, and then after the first 5 minutes, then at the 10-minute mark, and the 15-minute mark, and then at the 20 mark, it'll be done. So I'll be taking it out of the oven. It's been 5 minutes, so I'm gonna pull this out. And you can see it starting to bake. And put water right here on it. I'm gonna turn this tray around so I can get the other side. It'll also help it bake evenly. Put it here. I'll mist this side right here. I'll push it back in. I'll mist the 2 sides. And I'll close the oven. Misting the bread and increasing the humidity in the oven makes for a chewier crust. Italian bread has a chewy crust and a soft interior. The bread has been cooking for 10 minutes, and so it's time to spread again. The bread is getting darker. Now I'm going to turn the tray around and spray it again from this angle. Push it back in, and I'll do the 5 sprays on the side. I'll close the oven. And I'll bake it for 5 more minutes. This is the 4th and final time to spray the bread. Oh, it's looking really nice. Got a beautiful color. Turn this around. Spray it again. And then I'll spray the sides. And let it cook for a final 5 minutes. I just pulled the bread out of the oven, and I'm gonna put it on the cooling rack. I'll let the bread cool, and then after that we'll be able to slice it and taste it. I'm using a serrated knife to cut the bread. Let's look at it. How pretty that is. So it should be nice and soft on the inside, and you've got a chewy crust on the outside.
For our taste test, we have some salted butter, jalapeno butter, olive oil with Italian seasoning, and olive oil with balsamic vinegar. I'm gonna give the Italian bread a taste test. I'm gonna grab a slice right here. Oh my goodness, this couldn't be more beautiful. And I'm actually going to dip it. I love dipping my bread in olive oil, either with Italian seasoning or balsamic vinegar. So I'm just gonna dip it. Is this not absolutely gorgeous? So, let me go ahead and give it a taste. That's excellent. My husband and Ray and I love to go to Italian restaurants, and we'll often get bread that's very similar to this. Soft on the inside with a chewy outer crust. And it's the best bread. So when Dad started making it, I couldn't believe it. Absolutely fantastic. And I actually prefer this homemade bread to any of the restaurants that I've eaten at, any of the Italian restaurants. So this recipe is an absolute winner, and one that I'm gonna be making instead of going out. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you haven't subscribed, please be sure to do so and make sure to click the notification bell so you're updated on all of our new videos. Don't forget to comment below. We love to hear from you guys. Give a thumbs up if you enjoyed watching, and we will see you with our next video.
See ya.